Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to App Promotion Summit London 2022, the digital online sessions. We're here in the user acquisition zone. We had a couple of really good App Store optimization talks yesterday, and today we're going to be doing some UA, and we have 4 really good sessions lined up. The first of which is going to be on ad fraud, and I'd like you to welcome Matt Sutton from Traffic Guard. He's going to be talking about how you level up against ad fraud. He's coming live and direct from Singapore. I'm not sure what time it is there, Matt.
Thanks, James. We are indeed going to be talking about UA. It's 4 p.m. here, but I'm still drinking coffee, which tells you the kind of day that I've had today.
Great. Well, fueled by coffee, I will hand you over to Matt. Please give him a big London welcome to the virtual stage. Over to you.
Thanks, James. Really happy to be spending this time with you all. As James says, I'm in my afternoon here, but I understand that this is the first talk of the day over there in London. As you can probably hear, I am actually British, but I've been out here in Asia for just short of 18 years now, so half my life, which will give you an idea about how old I am. I'm the Global Chief Revenue Officer for Traffic Guard. So it's my responsibility to back our ad fraud solution, our mobile app ads fraud solution into mobile apps globally, UK, Europe, Southeast Asia, APAC, LATAM, Australia, all over the world. So really looking forward to spending this time with you. I'm going to spend the next sort of 20 to 25 minutes talking about the proliferation and the growth of ad fraud, how it affects mobile apps, and how you can use technology to understand your data and prevent ad fraud in real time to drive growth. So that's the goal of the next 20 to 25 minutes. I wanted to start off by sort of going a little bit more macro and taking a broader lens and looking at the scale and the impact of invalid traffic and ad fraud. I'm sure many of you, I was going to say in the room, but on this call today, are dealing with ad fraud on a regular basis, trying to understand which ones of your installs and events are legitimate, which partner do they legitimately belong to, which partners are driving the most amount of growth, which ones are stealing attribution, how do you maximize and get better traffic, all of that fun stuff. And to give you an idea, a lot of you are probably aware of these numbers, that the total size of the digital advertising market is now $500 billion. So $500 million every single year is spent on digital advertising. And with the growth of programmatic over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, if you chat to Adobe, they'll tell you that 1/3 of those ads does not even reach real humans. I find that absolutely incredible. A lot of you will have been in this industry for a period of time. I've been in this industry for nearly 20 years now. And if you had told me 20 years ago that 1 in every 3 ads that we sell, or 1 in every 3 engagements that we deliver is not even from a real human, I wouldn't have believed you. I find that number absolutely startling. I'm going to show you some data that we have later. We actually have that number being a lot higher, in fact. So if you take that $500 billion and you take that number of 1/3 of it not reaching real humans, that's a media value of $127 billion. Now, a lot of you will be paying on outcomes. And so you might be thinking, well, I don't pay for that media anyway. But that invalid traffic and that ad fraud coming from those channels is creating massive misattribution within your MMP. And so you're paying on the wrong partner and you're scaling on the wrong networks. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that impact later. But just think about that number for a minute. $127 billion worth of advertising, not even reaching real humans. Now, if you talk to Nielsen, they'll tell you that for every dollar spent, you get 2.87x ROI. So in other words, for every dollar spent, we're driving $3 of revenue. Now, maybe some of you on the call are going, wow, I wish I was doing $3 for every dollar spent. And maybe some of you are laughing, going, hey, I do way better than that. I get $5, I get $10. Obviously, lifetime customer value can be even bigger than that. But if you just put these two numbers together, that's $364 billion of lost revenue based on a 3x ROI on that invalid traffic. $364 billion of lost revenue every single year. Now, for those of you who are interested in and follow the markets and looking at how businesses are valued and market caps, the market basically is rewarding companies 5 to 10x market cap on revenue. So in other words, for every dollar of customer revenue, we're then getting 5 to 10x market value for that revenue. So that's something like $1.8 to $3.6 trillion of capital value erosion stolen from the planet every single year as a result of ad fraud in our industry. I find these numbers absolutely crazy every single time I present them. And we here at Traffic Guard are extremely passionate about returning that value to the world, returning that lost revenue back to businesses, and returning that market media value erosion, invalid traffic, wasted spend back to marketeers. We spend each and every day talking to our clients and enabling them with the technology to do that. To go a little bit closer again, just take a bit of a closer look. I took this data from a subset of our advertising clients, and I'll talk about the clients that we have and how we work with them, and how hopefully we could help many of you on the call today shortly. But we actually see from all the hundreds of networks that we're integrated with, and by the way, helping those networks to understand where invalid traffic is affecting them to go and source more and better traffic for their advertisers, we see the number being about 60%, 6 out of every 10 clicks coming from fraudulent and invalid traffic, most of it from bots. I talked about the effects on attribution here. So some of you might be paying for that media, but often advertisers are paying on outcomes, right? So it's 60% fraud coming in, but then they're paying and attributing based on installs and events. And what we see is a 20 to 40% misattribution because of that invalid traffic coming through to the MMP. And yes, that is with MMP fraud detection technology turned on. We're still seeing a 20 to 40% misattribution at the install, which then obviously spirals into events. So a 10 to 20% misattribution post that conversion. These numbers are kind of crazy. And again, here at Traffic Guard, we're very committed to providing the technology so advertisers, mobile apps understand where this invalid traffic is coming from, have the right solutions to prevent it in real time, and then pay out on installs and events to the right partner for valid performance and clean and scale and build clean ecosystems. And that's what we do at Traffic Guard. For a quick intro on who we are, so you know who's talking at you this morning. We are an Australian company. We're actually publicly listed on the ASX. So, you can have a quick Google and, read about all our announcements to market on our solutions and the clients that we're working with. And obviously being in this space, I think working with an enterprise publicly listed company when you're dealing with things like verification is quite important. We have 5 years history doing this now, and we've spent over $40 million on this technology. We have solutions in every channel. And to give you an idea, we're an official Google verification partner. We're actually a Google Ads Premier partner with the technology that we built with Google together. And we're the only verification platform which is listed on the Google Cloud Marketplace. Hopefully that kind of gives you an idea and a bit of background on the kind of company that we are. We actually work with over 3,000 advertisers globally and some really, really large enterprise customers like William Hill, Ladbrokes, On the Market, Disney, Deezer, Gojek, a huge list of enterprise, often unicorn level advertisers. Thought I'd spend a little bit of time talking about the definition of invalid traffic. If you look at Google's own definition, which also is very much aligned with the Media Rating Council definition of invalid traffic, they'll tell you that it's any activity that doesn't come from a real user with genuine interests. Now, often in the mobile app space, this is malicious. So often in the mobile app space, this comes from bots deliberately designed to either get paid for an engagement, which is not real, or particularly in mobile app and user acquisition, get attributed for an install and event that they should not have been attributed for. And we see this time and again with the mobile apps that we work with globally. And some of those mobile apps and some of those advertisers that I mentioned just there are here on this slide. We are integrated into hundreds of partner networks. And then for all of our advertisers, all of our clients, we actually integrate into those networks for them. So either those networks and partners will already be integrated, or we'll go and set up with those networks on their behalf. We're partnered with all the major MMPs, so it's very easy to integrate at the attribution level if you're working with AppsFlyer, Branch, or Adjust, and also multiple affiliate platforms as well. So when we work with our advertising partners, we then integrate with the supply side, we integrate with the attribution side, we give them access to their own dashboard so that they can completely understand in real time, right through the user journey, where invalid traffic is affecting them. And then we go ahead and start preventing for that invalid traffic in real time. There are two main types of invalid traffic that when we set up for a client, we will help them to identify an event. On the one hand, you've got general invalid traffic, and on the other hand, you've got sophisticated invalid traffic. As the name would expect, as the name would suggest, general invalid traffic is simpler to identify than sophisticated invalid traffic. But for both of these kinds of invalid traffic, you need click level integration and you need technology. To give you a couple of examples, with general invalid traffic, we're typically using routine means of filtration. So for example, a web crawler, we have a parameter check that will enable us to identify that web crawler in real time and the characteristics that are associated with that web crawler. So in real time, we can identify that a web crawler is here, exactly where it is, right down to the site ID level. And in real time, we can start to prevent for that. And I'll talk about how we prevent for that a little bit later. Then on the other hand, you've got sophisticated invalid traffic. As the name would suggest, this is a little trickier to identify. And typically then you're using advanced analytics and more specifically, machine learning. So for example, where you have bot-driven app installs, what a technology like Traffic Guard will do, we'll look at the typical click to install time in that particular network on this particular campaign at this particular time of day and across all the other activity as well, and look for anomalous behavior. Now, obviously, that's a moving target because all of these things are happening in real time, and one click to install time for one app on one campaign at one time of day in one market on one network is different to another. So what technologies like Traffic Guard will do is continuously analyze that and look for the anomalous click to install time to identify non-human behavior. That's just one example of how a technology like Traffic Guard will use machine learning to find sophisticated invalid traffic. When looking to detect and prevent for invalid traffic, you need a technology that can find both general and both sophisticated invalid traffic and do this completely in real time for you. The kinds of invalid traffic that a technology like Traffic Guard will find are all these horrible names listed on this slide. So you will be familiar with some of these. Maybe some of them, you're not as familiar with. There's a glossary of all of these on our website. And all of these, once we integrate for an advertiser, are identified completely transparently and all in real time. And obviously, different kinds of invalid traffic will affect a particular mobile app at different times on different networks. This is a constantly moving goalpost. Once you have the right technology in place, it will surface these for you so that you understand it, so your partner networks understand it, so you can start to optimize out of it. And also, importantly, you have a technology that will prevent these things affecting you whilst they are there. And I'll talk a little bit about how we do that now. So the difference between a platform like Traffic Guard and maybe an MMP type solution, which is at the end of the user journey, is that we integrate at the click level, at the attribution level, and at the post-attribution level. So the first thing that we'll do is turn on the push API and link your attribution platform. So you have all of your attribution level data live, and we do verification at the attribution level and at the post-attribution level. So we're then live and we're doing the work that we do, analyzing all of that attribution data at that level. The critical difference between how Traffic Guard works and a lot of other solutions, a more simple solution works, is that we then go and integrate directly into those supply side networks on your behalf. So we then have a click level integration as well as an attribution level integration and we can analyze and look for fraud right through that user journey, from the click and then right down to the site ID, all the way through to the install and the event. This is really important because in order to detect sophisticated invalid traffic, you need to be looking right through that user journey, because sophisticated invalid traffic hides and mutates right through that user journey. And a lot of this invalid traffic is undetected at the attribution level. If it wasn't for the fact that we're analyzing all the way from the click right through to the attribution, this fraud and invalid traffic would actually go undetected. And what we find with all of those enterprise level advertisers that I've name checked and showed you on that slide today is that even if they are using some kind of surface level fraud detection technology, when we go and integrate right through the user journey, we find masses of undetected invalid traffic. So this is kind of a neat way to look at it, that we have click level protection from those performance networks. Then when they download the app, we have install level verification and we have post attribution verification. And I guarantee you that if you're not using a technology which is analyzing right through that user journey, you have undetected invalid traffic, 100%. We find it 100% of the time. The amount of that, that's what we don't know until we go and set up. But 100% of the time, you will have undetected invalid traffic. And without a click level integration, you also have no way to prevent it. This has a real snowball effect on the misattribution, because once you have misattributed at the install level, then all of those subsequent events are also misattributed to that install as well. So this is what we call the snowball effect of misattribution. And again, we see this time and time again, where the initial install is misattributed, the subsequent events are misattributing, and mobile apps are unwittingly scaling into the fraud, because as they continue to misattribute events and install to a network, they then go and scale and reward that network. So they end up unwittingly rewarding the fraud. And this grows and grows and grows until there's hundreds of millions and billions of clicks and hundreds of thousands of dollars wasted on misattributing at the install and the event level. So the difference with Traffic Guard is that we integrate at the click level right through to the attribution level, so that we have full view of that user journey in order to find and deliver much more accurate attribution data that is available without this in place. The other critical important part of having this full funnel detection of fraud right through the user journey is that we actually prevent that invalid traffic from ever even entering the MMP. So once we integrate at the click, when we find invalid traffic within that network, we then change the attribution journey of that click in real time. So instead of it going through to the MMP for the potential for misattribution, it just goes on to its end user journey. So we integrate and set up full funnel. When we find that 50 to 60% invalid traffic, we prevent that invalid traffic from ever even entering the MMP. So now you're attributing only on clean data. And most importantly, you now know exactly where that invalid traffic is coming from, right down to the site ID. So you can now empower your supply side partners with the same information. So the mobile apps that work with Traffic Guard have given their networks access to the Traffic Guard platform and said to their networks, please optimize out. We don't want that site ID. We don't want that site ID. That's invalid. Please get your invalid traffic down to below 30%, down to below 20%. So you're always on protected, because the invalid traffic never reaches. Your previously undetected invalid traffic is now detected, and you're able to empower your partner networks to go and find more clean traffic for you. And all of our advertisers benefit from that value prop. So it's complete transparency on data, automated removal of that invalid traffic, so it never even enters the MMP. Now you only pay based on actual and real, genuine delivery of installs and events, and you can partner with your networks to go and build cleaner ecosystems. So this solutions like this save the apps that we work with hundreds of thousands of dollars and allows them to increase that customer value. So if you think back to that slide that I gave right at the beginning on all of that lost media value, lost customer revenue, lost market cap, we're very passionate about setting up our advertisers with this full funnel detection and prevention in order to start clawing back those dollars. So for a summary statement of what I've discussed with you in the last sort of 5 minutes, Traffic Guard enables clients to detect and prevent all the way from engagement right through to conversion. Only valid traffic and real users are then sent to the MMP. So with the click level integration, invalid traffic never actually reaches the MMP in the first place. Now you only pay for real and valid outcomes, and you only pay for outcomes that were generated from real traffic. So you pay the right partners for performance they have delivered. And all of this is real time, completely transparent, right down to the site ID. We find that this immediately saves lost marketing dollars for our clients and allows them to work on accurate attribution and clean traffic data to go and scale into the right partners, as well as give data, provide that data to their networks completely in real time so that they can start removing that fraudulent traffic and sending through better traffic, which obviously means that our clients can grow and scale with confidence and create clean traffic ecosystems for future growth. So hopefully that's a good summary of what we see out there in terms of the scale of the invalid traffic problem within user acquisition, and the solution that we've built that allows our clients to prevent fraud in real time. And as I mentioned, we're very passionate and very excited about working with our partners to deliver that. I was going to finish with a few examples. So this is a global fashion retailer, an e-commerce app, and the results here on the right are what we found when we integrated for them. In this case, this fashion retailer actually came to us and said, I don't believe the data that I'm seeing, and I think that there must be a lot of fraud happening here. I'm not sure if I'm attributing to the right partner. And then we set up full funnel exactly the way that I've explained to you today, and we found that in fact the 57% invalid click rate was delivering a 40% invalid install rate. Most of that was misattribution. So these were real installs, but they were just the attribution was getting stolen from those networks, from those invalid clicks, which was then delivering a 36% invalid events. And then this particular mobile app was then scaling on this data. So they were rewarding that fraud, and all of these installs and events were actually getting misattributed. Now that we've set them up, all of their partner networks are now set up on Traffic Guard, and they're managing their partner networks. Their partner networks have full access. They know in real time where the fraud is, and they know exactly which installs and which events have gone, which clicks have gone through to the MMP, and which installs and events they're going to be getting paid for. So final thing from me then, in summary, I think you guys already know this. You guys and girls already know this, but invalid traffic is a global problem. Cost advertisers billions of dollars a year. It's largely undetected. So fraud and invalid traffic is one of those things that we all know about, but we don't necessarily have the right technology and solutions to solve for it. And as I mentioned, that's what we're very passionate about delivering to the market. MMP fraud detection is obviously a good place to get started, but if you're scaling, it is not enough to detect the level of fraud coming through the funnel from partner networks. So we're certainly not saying don't use an MMP and don't use MMP fraud detection. Obviously, you're going to need an MMP, and any fraud detection solutions that you can put in place are obviously of value. But if you're scaling and you're in user acquisition mode and you're working with multiple partners, it is not going to be enough. You need click level integration in order to understand exactly where that invalid traffic is coming from, and more importantly, help your MMP by not sending the fraud to them in the first place. Traffic Guard's multi-layer protection from the engagement right through to the install and event will enable you with the right solutions to detect and prevent for that in real time. And that's pretty much it from me. I hope that was useful. Thank you. I think you're on mute, James.
Thank you. Still doing this 2 years later. You think I would know by now. Thanks, Matt. That was great. Yeah, a couple of questions for you. Firstly, the big issue, obviously, everyone's been grappling with is iOS sort of 14. Excuse me. And has that had any effect on what you've been doing, or is that relatively confined to Facebook and that sort of ecosystem? How has that affected what ad fraud?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so, the obvious caveat that everybody says when they answer this question is, we and everybody is still learning about the impacts of it, right? And so, that's the obvious caveat. My personal take and a few things that I'm seeing, it's obviously affecting attribution from Facebook, right? So a lot of our clients that are using Facebook for user acquisition are now struggling to attribute that back. One of the big values that we provide is that click level integration with performance networks and mobile app install networks and that whole space, which doesn't suffer from attribution issues once we integrate at the click level and right through to install an event. And so we have seen some advertisers start to mitigate, right, by having more and more channels, and where we are integrated at that click level with them, they can deliver really attractive user acquisition, install and event rates with fraud detection in place and with no attribution issues. And so we've seen that. And so in some ways we're benefiting from that with some of our clients. Obviously over the next months and year, and as this whole thing plays out, market mix modeling, multi-touch attribution, understanding incrementality, all of these things are going to become super important. And here at Traffic Guard, we're already delivering parts of that for our clients, so we can enable them to figure out multi-touch attribution and things like incrementality. So again, we with the mobile apps that we work with, which are some of the world's leading mobile apps, we're starting to be able to provide them with those solutions. And we're also bringing out more and more things that will enable them with that. So, it's not a good thing for our industry generally. It's definitely affected Facebook the most. I think with us, because we're not solely reliant on that and we're integrating through the whole funnel and we're helping our advertisers understand things like incrementality and marketing mix, we're working with our clients and, we see ourselves as being part of the solution, and we're enabling our clients to move into more channels and understand things like incrementality. So, that's my take.
Right. So it's kind of rebalanced things in a way. A few years ago, you had the, very well attributed kind of Facebook space, if you like, and what people saw as more of a wild west of programmatic, a lot of fraud going on. And now it's kind of almost the other way around. No one knows what's happening on Facebook at all.
Yeah.
And although they're working on it, and much better. Obviously, Apple search ads is better, but much better attribution now using your solution on sort of third-party networks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we've seen in this kind
Right.
of immediate short-term space, a kind of a bit of redressing of that balance. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that, Facebook's here to stay and, they will figure out some of this and, I'm a buyer of the stock. So, and I'm not particularly worried about that, but my overall take would be, don't be reliant on one channel, right? Like leverage all of the channels that are available to you with the right technology in place. And that's what we're saying to our clients. And they're now setting up more and more channels. So, that's the advice we're giving to our clients.
Right. And when you're working with the supply side or the buy side, how has the sort of awareness of this issue sort of developed? I guess there's one point, maybe it was people are kind of quite comfortable with the situation. If you're a traffic source and there's a lot of fraud going on, you're still getting paid. Even the agencies were getting paid for installs. There's quite a few famous cases, sort of, companies here and even in the UK that were sending, clicks and installs and getting paid for them. How has that sort of evolved?
Yeah, there is indeed. And, we are a technology provider that is passionate about and motivated by providing clarity and consistency around data. And that goes for agencies, for supply side publishers, for attribution platforms, for clients. Our skin in the game here is just providing the technology to give that complete clarity. So, we're not we don't see the networks here necessarily, we don't see them as being the bad guys and the bad girls and the advertisers are the good guys. There's fraud. And oftentimes the networks themselves are as much a victim of fraud, because we all know how this works. It's a complicated web of partners and sub-partners and site IDs. They don't know where the fraud is. But to your point, if nobody's asking, then they'll just keep delivering it, right? And that I don't see that as being a great surprise. If you're running a performance network and you're delivering media and your client is paying you and nobody's asked the question, then you're not going to change anything about what you do. But oftentimes they themselves don't know where the fraud is. And so they don't know that they're getting misattributed, either in the negative or the positive. And so, the short answer is we don't have skin in the game on either side. We work with our advertising clients and with our mobile app clients to enable clean ecosystems for everybody. And the advertisers that we work with, that are then working with those partner networks have now got complete transparency on data, so that they can go and, they didn't know that site ID had fraud in it. That sub partner is delivering 7. Often you'll find there's clusters. So it will be, 70% of the fraud will be coming from 3 or 4 clusters and partner networks and site IDs. So using that technology, it can be quite easy to go and clean up that ecosystem and go and find better media to then deliver better results for clients. So yeah, that's what we're passionate about, just providing that transparency around data.
And what's your understanding of the people doing the fraud? How has that changed? Is it still, people sort of see this as a few click farms in Vietnam, or has it got more sophisticated or more distributed across different publishers, or how's that sort of evolved?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, wherever there is an opportunity to defraud somebody and make money, wherever that opportunity exists, you'll find fraud, right? And that's in every walk of life. So, here in digital, in banking, anywhere there's an opportunity, there's always going to be some bad actors who are looking to benefit from that. And as is the case with digital, as it's always been, right, the fact that you can provide that transparency almost shines a light on it, because we can adopt technology to go and find and see these things in ways that it might be more difficult in other areas, right? I mean, there's a lot of fraud in TV advertising as well, but it's just harder to find. So high level, there's always going to be fraud there. And the two things that we've seen, although it's not great news, is that 1, it's got more sophisticated, and 2, it's growing, right? And so as the digital market grows year on year, and we shared some of that data at the beginning of this presentation, the bigger the dollar opportunity is, the more bad actors it's going to attract. And so the first thing is it's growing, and then secondly, it's just got more sophisticated. So it used to be the case that an end attribution platform, be that an MMP or anything, that you could just verify at the attribution level, and maybe that was enough. But hopefully, what I've been trying to show today, and what we see time and time again, is that it's not enough anymore, because sophisticated invalid traffic mutates through the channel, and you need to be looking at so many different data sets. So Traffic Guard actually looks at over 150 signals just with its machine learning in order to identify all of those threats all the time in real time. And so, it's a cat and mouse game, right? It's always changing. It's always developing. We're constantly, identifying new areas of fraud. It's a moving goalpost. It's not a static thing. And so we're constantly updating and bringing out new ways and new signals and new kinds of behavior that we're seeing. So it's growing, it's getting more sophisticated, and our message would be, if you're a mobile app in user acquisition, you need click level integration and full funnel detection and prevention. And getting that from the start can literally save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. What we find time and again is that clients come to us when the problem has scaled out of control, right? And they'll come to us and go, I've got 1 billion clicks, I've got 2 billion clicks, I've got 3 billion clicks. I don't believe my data anymore. And it takes us quite a few months to go and clean all that up with them. And there's obviously a cost associated with that because it's quite high volume. So strangely enough, we actually prefer it when clients are at the beginning of the journey, that they're not worth as much to us, like in absolute dollar terms, but we can go right at the beginning and create a clean ecosystem, and they scale in with protection in place rather than come to us like when everything's on fire, which happens quite a lot.
Great. Well, I think, yeah, it's quite a powerful message and opportunity here to open up, yeah, as we say, it's a shift from maybe just looking at pumping a lot of money into Facebook, diversifying your sources, and this is a great way to do it. So I think that's been really interesting. So if people want to find out more, they just go to, is it trafficguard.com, or how do they take the next step?
Yeah, trafficguard.ai is our website. I think I know that much.
Okay, great.
Trafficguard.ai, and yeah, we'll be following up with contact details, and obviously we would love to chat to anybody who's got any questions about this in general, or would like to set up and run a test. We actually run tests for free for enterprise level mobile apps. So we go and set up, and we give full access to the platform so that they can see. We call it an audit, and it allows them to see what invalid traffic is there. And the fact that we do it for free tells you that we kind of already know what we're going to find. That's why we do it for free. And so yeah, we'll follow up, and anybody that's interested in setting up and getting that transparency, we'd love to have a chat with you.
So go over to Traffic AI and book in an audit. Great.
There you go.
All right. Thanks very much, Matt. That was great. And yeah, have a good evening.